Joining me is the member for Casey, Liberal MP Aaron Violi. Aaron, thanks as always. Today we saw some numbers released by the government. The Climate Minister, Chris Bowen, was on the program earlier, explaining to our viewers that the fastest uptake in EVs, in electric vehicles, is outer suburban areas. Is that something that you're seeing in your area, an outer suburban area of Melbourne, in Casey?
Well, thanks for having me, Kieran, and happy Easter to all your viewers. We're not seeing that in Casey at all. Casey, as I think I've spoken about regularly, has the highest number of tradies as a percentage of workforce. A lot of families with SUVs, and the reality is there's no EV that does the job for tradies or for families at the moment. So I'm not seeing that in my community. I'm seeing a lot of Ford Rangers, a lot of Isuzu D-Maxes, a lot of larger cars, but not the EVs. We don't have the infrastructure in my community at the moment. There's maybe 2 or 3 charging stations in an area that's 2,500 square kilometres. So it's not happening out our way.
Do you think it might be enticing, though, once that infrastructure does build? The minister says it's going to double over the next year, the number of chargers around the place.
It depends on use cases. There is no doubt that chargers are one of the reasons that people aren't taking up EVs. I spoke to a community member when I was out door knocking a little while ago, and he got an EV through his work, but he wasn't able to visit his mother in Shepparton from Lilydale, the issue being that he had enough charge to get there. There was one EV charging station in town at that stage, and if it wasn't working, he couldn't get home, so he had to get a hire car. So there's no doubt once the infrastructure is better and more, there's more in place, that then you should see a natural uptake, because it is one of the concerns people have. But it doesn't take away, Kieran, from that core point that we've talked about as a coalition. Many of the EVs that our communities and my community need don't actually exist anywhere in the world to do the job we need them to.
On another energy issue, you saw last week the government committing $1 billion to this solar sunshot program. They're going to be focusing on areas like the Hunter, former coal-fired power stations, but now to become solar manufacturing hubs. Is this the battle now between renewables on the one hand for the government and nuclear for the coalition?
Well, it really shouldn't be the battle, Kieran, and I've said it and the coalition have said it quite consistently. It shouldn't be renewables or nuclear. We believe that nuclear will support renewables. The reality is there is no reliable baseload power that exists at scale that's net zero outside of nuclear. There's obviously hydro, but we've seen with Snowy 2.0, there's challenges there, and we don't have the ability to do hydro across the country to provide that baseload power. So we genuinely believe that nuclear will support the uptake of renewables and give us that reliable baseload power we need for industry, we need for businesses, that families and communities need.
Some of the critics, though, Malcolm Turnbull among others, say that nuclear is not what you need because it can only operate on a 24/7 basis. Is there the technology, though, that's emerging that says you can use it in a peaking capacity like we use gas at the moment?
Well, I don't believe having nuclear working 24/7 is a bad thing. You go to that first principle that it's a net zero energy source, and that should ultimately be the thing that we're focused on. We need to remember that there are many commentators and many people that have got self-interest, and they've invested heavily in renewables and other technologies from a financial perspective. I've always said consistently, I'm technology agnostic. I'll support any technology that gets us to net zero as quick as possible, or providing reliable, cheap power to our community and businesses that need it to survive.
On the news poll, that analysis today, what was your read on it? Does the coalition need to be doing more to be more competitive right now, given the challenges the government's faced, from cost of living to immigration issues?
The news poll shows us, Kieran, that we are competitive. We're in a really good spot, around 12 months from an election. This is a first-term government. We know Australians like to give the benefit of the doubt to the government of the day, particularly a new government. And they've seen that Anthony Albanese and the Labor government, when in opposition, promised a lot, and they're not delivering. So there's that definite level of frustration and disengagement from the government. Our opportunity is to continue to put forward positive policies that are going to solve some of the cost of living challenges, provide energy reliability, housing affordability for young people. That's the next step for us to continue to outline our policies going into the next election, show people that we can solve some of the challenges that they face.
Liberal member for Casey, Aaron Violi, appreciate it. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Kieran. See you next week.